Imagine you are standing at the open door of an airplane. You're at like 10,000 feet.
Hmm.
The wind is absolutely howling. Your heart is just hammering against your ribs.
Oh, man.
Yeah, your palms are sweating, and your breathing is incredibly shallow.
Right. That's the human body's absolute peak panic response. Your sympathetic nervous system is taking completely over.
Exactly.
It's flooding your bloodstream with adrenaline, preparing your muscles to either fight for your life or run as fast as humanly possible.
While your brain is just screaming at you to step back from the edge.
Yes. But here's the bizarre and honestly kind of funny thing about human biology.
Okay.
You could experience that exact same physiological response, the hammering heart, the sweating palms, the dry mouth, all of it. Not from jumping out of a plane, but just from standing up to give a Monday morning update.
Oh, right, in a perfectly safe, brightly lit conference room.
Exactly. We react to the gaze of our peers as if it were a literal physical threat to our survival.
That is so wild.
It is. The brain's fear center, the amygdala, it just doesn't always distinguish between, a predator in the wild and 20 coworkers staring at you waiting for the Q3 revenue numbers.
Well, welcome to this deep dive. Our mission today is to completely deconstruct that terrifying ordeal of public speaking.
Yes, and it really is an ordeal for most people.
It totally is.
Mhm.
We are pulling insights from Dale and Dorothy Carnegie's classic guide, The Quick and Easy Way to Effective Speaking. We're going to reveal how anyone can take that debilitating stage fright and transform it into a really powerful career-boosting tool.
Because it can be, right?
Absolutely. So whether you are, preparing for a massive corporate presentation, maybe giving a toast at a family wedding, or you just want to stop hiding in the back of your weekly team meetings, this applies directly to you.
I think part of the problem, honestly, is that we carry around this outdated, highly intimidating idea of what public speaking is actually supposed to look like.
Oh, sure.
We picture these grand, old-fashioned, silver-tongued orators with booming voices.
Right, projecting to the back of a concert hall.
Yeah, pacing around like 19th century politicians.
But Dale Carnegie makes a critical point right up front to shatter that image, which I love. He says public speaking today is no longer about formal rhetoric. It is simply an enlarged conversation.
An enlarged conversation. I love that phrasing.
Right. The people listening to you just want straightforward speech. They want you to talk with them, not at them.
Which is incredibly freeing to realize. You don't need to perform, you just need to converse.
Exactly. But even knowing that, the visceral, physical fear still remains for most people.
Absolutely. The fear doesn't just vanish because you relabeled it.
So we have to start by dismantling the biggest misconception out there regarding that fear.
The born speaker myth.
Yes, there is this pervasive myth that some people are just born with a microphone in their hand, that public speaking is purely genetic.
Like you either have the gift of gab or you just don't.
Right, and Carnegie's completely emphatic on this point.
Yeah.
There is no such animal, in or out of captivity, as a born public speaker.
None.
It is not an innate talent. It is entirely a learnable skill.
And the statistics back that up universally. I mean, surveys from college speech classes show that 80 to 90% of all students suffer from severe stage fright at the beginning of the course.
80 to 90%.
Yeah, it's basically the default human condition. And it certainly doesn't stop when you graduate and enter the workforce either.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
There are crazy stories of highly successful adults who are just utterly paralyzed by it.
Oh, right. David Goodrich?
Yes, the chairman of the board of the massive B.F. Goodrich Company. He was so terrified of speaking that he would literally sneak through his own office corridors for years just to avoid talking to a shy accountant.
That's hilarious. And there was D.W. Gent, too.
Right, the highly successful businessman who sidestepped every single opportunity to speak until he was appointed chairman of a board of trustees and was finally, backed into a corner and forced to face it.
Which really proves something important. When people reach the absolute top of the corporate ladder and still experience that knee-knocking terror, it proves that authority and success don't magically erase the biological response.
But wait, if the professionals, like the highly successful executives, the people who have climbed to the very top, if they still get scared, isn't that a bit discouraging for the rest of us?
How do you mean?
Well, I mean, if the chairman of B.F. Goodrich hasn't cured his stage fright, what hope do we have of curing ours?
Ah, okay. So that requires a complete paradigm shift in how we view the fear itself.
Okay.
The fear isn't a disease that needs to be cured. What's actually fascinating here is that a certain amount of stage fright is a biological advantage.
An advantage, really.
Yeah. The chief cause of your fear is simply that you are unaccustomed to the situation. It's the unknown. But that physical reaction you feel, that adrenaline dump,
Right.
that is nature's way of preparing your body to meet an unusual challenge.
So wait, instead of thinking of a racing heart as an engine breaking down, we should think of it as an engine revving up for a race.
That is exactly it. When your pulse beats faster and your respiration speeds up, your brain is actually receiving more oxygen.
Oh, wow.
So if you can keep those physiological preparations within limits, like if you don't let the panic completely hijack your higher reasoning, that biological revving actually makes you think faster.
Makes sense.
It makes you talk more fluently. You generally speak with much greater intensity and sharpness than you would under normal, relaxed circumstances.
So the goal isn't to be completely relaxed when you walk up to the podium.
Not at all. Speakers who claim to be perfectly calm are usually as inspiring as a piece of cardboard.
That's a great point. You need that edge.
You do. Even seasoned professional speakers never completely lose all their stage fright. It is almost always present right before they speak.
It's the price they pay for being like racehorses instead of draft horses.
Exactly. But since the physical response is automatic, the battle really has to be fought and won in the mind.
Right. It begins with what the Carnegies call buoyant optimism.
Buoyant optimism, yes. You have to predetermine your mind to success before you ever open your mouth.
There's this vivid historical anecdote from the sources to illustrate this level of psychological commitment, and it goes all the way back to Julius Caesar.
Oh, the ships.
Yes. So when Caesar sailed over the Channel from Gaul and landed his legions in England, he did something that seems completely unhinged by modern military standards.
Truly unhinged.
He halted his soldiers on the chalk cliffs of Dover, made them look down at the waves 200 feet below, and showed them their own ships, every single vessel they had used to cross the Channel, completely engulfed in flames.
Because Caesar had ordered them burned.
Right. He intentionally destroyed their only means of retreat. The last link to the continent was gone. They had literally no choice but to advance and conquer.
Which is such an intense story, but translating that to a modern public speaking scenario is crucial. You have to burn the ships of your own irresolute past. You have to throw every shred of negative thought into the fire and lock the door on any escape route.
So in a corporate setting, burning the ships might mean, like, volunteering to give the quarterly presentation before you feel fully ready.
Yes, or sending out a calendar invite to 50 people so backing out is just no longer an option. You force yourself into the arena.
It is about absolute commitment to the action. But the psychological mechanics of how you carry out that action are just as important.
Very true. And the work of William James, the famous Harvard psychologist, explains this mechanism perfectly.
Right, the connection between emotion and action.
Yeah. We usually assume our emotions dictate our actions. Like, we feel brave, so we act brave. We feel happy, so we smile.
Seems logical.
But James proved that action and feeling actually go together. And because our physical actions are under the direct control of our will, much more so than our raw emotions, we can indirectly regulate our feelings by regulating our physical posture and actions.
Wait, okay, William James might be a great psychologist, but if my knees are visibly shaking behind a podium, just standing up straight isn't going to magically stop the sweat, is it?
Wow.
Because that sounds like a superficial, fake-it-till-you-make-it strategy that completely ignores genuine panic.
I know it sounds superficial, but only until you look at the biology of proprioceptive feedback.
Proprioceptive feedback.
Yeah. Your brain is constantly monitoring your body's posture to assess how it should feel.
Oh, interesting.
So if you are slouched, looking down, taking shallow breaths, your body sends a signal to your amygdala that you are under threat, which triggers more cortisol and adrenaline.
Making you panic more.
Exactly. But if you force your body to stand tall, take deep breaths, and look your audience in the eye, you are manually overriding the system.
Oh, wow.
You are sending biological signals to your brain that the environment is safe and under your control. The courage follows the posture.
Theodore Roosevelt is actually a prime example of this.
He really is.
Because Roosevelt was actually a very sickly, nervous, and awkward young man. He was terrified of everything from grizzly bears to public speaking.
But he cured himself by sheer willpower.
Exactly. By acting as if he were not afraid. He practiced fearlessness when he didn't feel it at all.
By forcing his body into the posture of confidence, he reprogrammed his nervous system over time, Keep it up long enough, and the pretense becomes reality. The speaker does, in very fact, become fearless.
Okay, so you have revved up the engine, you've burned your ships, you are standing tall, and you're using your posture to signal safety to your brain.
Right, you're ready to go.
But all of this mental and physical preparation will instantly collapse if you make one incredibly common, fatal error in your actual speech preparation.
Oh, yeah. It is the single most tempting error a beginner can make.
The Carnegie Mandate is crystal clear on this. Never, ever memorize a talk word for word.
Never. People do it because they are terrified of drawing a mental blank. They want a safety net.
Which makes sense on paper.
Sure, but memorizing a speech is like driving a car using only turn-by-turn GPS instructions without ever looking at the actual map.
Oh, I like that analogy.
If you memorize turn left at the third oak tree, and you somehow miss that tree, you are completely and utterly lost. You have no conceptual understanding of where you are.
Whereas extemporaneous speaking is knowing the general map. If you miss a turn, you just take a detour and still arrive at the destination.
Exactly.
Because when you memorize, your brain is dedicating all its computing power to recalling a rigid, specific sequence of words. From a biological standpoint, rote memory relies on a very fragile synaptic pathway.
Very fragile.
And the moment the fight-or-flight response kicks in, cortisol floods the brain and often disrupts the prefrontal cortex, which is the exact part of the brain you need to recall that rigid sequence. The brain is like blue screens.
It literally blue screens. And Winston Churchill actually learned this the hard way.
Wait, really? Churchill?
Yeah. Long before he became the legendary orator we all know, he wrote out and memorized his speeches. One day, delivering a memorized talk in the British Parliament, he stopped dead.
Oh, no.
His mind went completely blank. He tried to restart his last sentence, and nothing came.
In Parliament?
In Parliament. His face went scarlet, and he had to sit down in absolute humiliation. He never attempted to deliver a memorized talk again.
That is brutal. But it's true. When we talk in everyday life, we don't think of words. We think of ideas.
Right.
When your ideas are clear, the words come naturally. The moment you force yourself to remember a script, you rob yourself of your natural humanity.
So true.
Abraham Lincoln actually said he didn't like to hear a cut-and-dried sermon. He wanted to see a speaker act as if they were fighting bees.
Fighting bees.
Yeah. And you cannot project passion or act like you are fighting bees if you are desperately searching your brain for the third word of paragraph 4.
No, you can't. And the tragedy of Vance Bushnell perfectly illustrates the catastrophe of the memorized script.
Who is Vance Bushnell?
He was a highly successful executive at a massive insurance company, and he was asked to give a 20-minute address to 2,000 representatives.
2,000?
Yeah. So he wrote it out and he memorized it. He rehearsed it 40 times in front of a mirror until he thought it was absolutely mathematically flawless.
Okay, so he's totally prepared.
Or so he thinks.
Right. So he gets up on this 4-foot-high platform with no railing behind him. He says his first sentence, and the cortisol hits.
Oh, boy.
He goes totally blank, completely forgets the rest.
So what does he do?
Well, to try and prompt his memory, he takes 2 steps backward to physically try and restart the routine, like rewinding a cassette tape.
Oh, no.
He tries again, blanks again, steps backward again.
You're kidding.
He repeats this backing up routine 3 times, and on the 4th time, he steps back so far, he literally falls straight backward off the 5-foot platform and just disappears into thin air.
Oh, my gosh. That is my absolute worst nightmare. The audience howled with laughter. They were falling out of their chairs, assuming it was a brilliantly executed slapstick comedy routine.
Wow.
Bushnell was so humiliated, he tried to resign from his job the next day.
I don't blame him. I would have moved to another country.
Right. But his superiors wouldn't let him resign, and he actually went on to become a great speaker, but he learned the ultimate lesson. He never memorized a talk again.
I bet. It's really the modern equivalent of someone reading off a teleprompter or like a second monitor on a company-wide Zoom call.
Oh, yes.
They lose their place and just freeze in dead silence for 30 seconds while everyone watches. A memorized talk sounds mechanical. It breaks the connection with the audience because you aren't conversing with them. You're reading a teleprompter inside your own head.
Exactly. So if we aren't supposed to memorize, and we certainly aren't supposed to win it completely without preparation, because an unprepared speaker is a terrified speaker, the correct method involves a different kind of work entirely.
What's the method?
True preparation is described by Carnegie not as writing, but as brooding.
Brooding. Like sitting in a dark room brooding.
Sort of. You don't sit down at a laptop to hammer out a perfect essay. Instead, you search your own background. You assemble ideas and convictions that have welled up from your personal experiences.
Okay, I like that.
Dr. Charles Reynold Brown advised speakers to brood over a topic until it becomes mellow and expansive in the mind. It's less like doing homework and more like marinating a steak. You let the ideas soak.
And that makes a lot of sense.
Then, instead of writing out full sentences, you just jot down a few words or bullet points to fix the ideas in a logical order. You create a roadmap, not a script.
And once you have that roadmap, you have to practice it. But you don't stand in front of a mirror reciting it to an empty room like Vance Bushnell.
No, please don't.
The sources outline a highly practical, almost sneaky rehearsal technique. You test it out in casual, everyday conversation.
The sneaky rehearsal is brilliant.
It is. You lean across a lunch table and tell a friend, hey, I had an unusual experience recently. And then you just casually deliver the main points of your upcoming speech to them.
And they won't even know you're rehearsing.
Exactly. You observe their real-time reactions. Do they lean in? Do their eyes glaze over? You discover facts you might have missed, or more compelling ways to phrase your argument, simply by watching a real human being react to your ideas organically.
This is exactly what stand-up comedians do. They
Yes.
don't debut a brand new, untested hour of material on a giant theater stage in front of 5,000 people.
Right. They bomb.
They go to a tiny, dark comedy club on a Tuesday night, pull a crumpled piece of paper out of their pocket, and casually test the premises out loud just to see where the natural laughs are. They are road testing the ideas in a low-stakes environment to ensure they resonate.
The underlying mechanism there is habituation.
Yeah.
You cannot learn to speak in public without actually speaking in public, any more than you can learn to swim without getting in the water.
Very true.
The Carnegie text stresses that you must seize every single opportunity to practice this. Every time you expose yourself to the fear and survive, your amygdala learns that the environment is safe. The fear response dulls.
And George Bernard Shaw, who was one of the most brilliant and confident speakers of the 20th century, relied entirely on habituation to get there.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, as a young man, he was so timid he would walk up and down the street for 20 minutes, just trying to summon the courage to knock on someone's door. He was deeply ashamed of his own cowardice.
So what changed?
He took drastic action and joined a debate society. He approached public speaking the same way he approached learning to skate, by doggedly making a fool of himself until he got used to it.
He just threw himself into the fire.
Exactly. He volunteered to speak at every single meeting, completely disregarding how foolish he might look initially. He threw his heart into his cause, and the constant exposure wore away the fear.
Which is such good advice. Join organizations. Volunteer for offices that require you to speak. Stand up and second a motion at a neighborhood meeting. Teach a weekend class.
Just do it.
Every time you open your mouth in front of a group, you are laying another brick in your foundation of self-confidence.
And the ultimate goal is to reach a point where your passion for the subject overrides the biological fear response.
Right.
The text highlights Albert Edward Wigham, who was terrified of speaking after messing up a high school declamation. He swore he'd never speak again.
A lot of people have that exact trauma.
Totally. But years later, he became so intensely passionate about a political issue, the Free Silver campaign, that he pawned his own watch just to buy a train ticket to go give a speech about it.
Wow, pawned his watch.
Yeah. He was so intensely focused on his message that he completely forgot his fear and ended up talking for an hour and a half.
Because when your desire to communicate is stronger than your fear of the audience, the fear just evaporates. You are no longer thinking about yourself. You are thinking entirely about the value you are delivering to the people listening.
Exactly. So let's bring all of these mechanisms together. Effective speaking isn't about being genetically gifted or, possessing a perfectly polished theatrical voice.
Right.
It's not about memorizing a flawless script that turns you into a rigid, nervous robot, terrified of forgetting a single word.
It is about taking the plunge. It's about reframing that terrifying surge of adrenaline as your body's natural, necessary fuel to think faster and speak sharper.
Yes.
It's about knowing your subject deeply through your own experience, outlining a map instead of a script, and casually testing those ideas out loud with the people around you until you know they work.
The next time you face an audience, whether it's pitching a project to 3 executives across a boardroom table or giving a toast to 300 wedding guests, you are not facing an ordeal.
You are stepping into an adventure of self-direction.
Exactly. You are choosing to use your voice to make an impact. The only way out is through. Burn the ships, stand up tall to signal safety to your nervous system, and trust that the courage will follow the action.
Think back to that physical sensation we started with. The open airplane door, the howling wind, the hammering heart. Think about the last time you avoided speaking up in a meeting because your heart was pounding so hard you thought the person next to you could hear it.
We've all been there.
What if, instead of viewing that racing heart as a warning sign to retreat and stay quiet, you welcomed it? What if you recognized that rapid pulse as the exact biological fuel you needed to change the temperature of the room? The energy is already there in your chest. The only question left is, how are you going to use it?